Hello and welcome to another episode of On the Floor with Wayne and Rob. I'm Wayne Highlander, Director of Sales for Bona Adhesives.
I'm Rob Johnson from the Bona Training.
How are we doing, Rob?
Real good, bud. How you doing today?
Yep, really good. I think you have some exciting news to share. I believe you have another grandchild.
We have another one. Absolutely. The clan just keeps getting bigger. Thanks for asking. He was born, what was the date on Sunday?
I have no idea.
Yeah, he was born Sunday. So
Okay. What's his name?
his name, nice Italian kid, Finnan Cook McSweeney.
Finnan Cook McSweeney.
Finnan, Finan, only one N. Finnan Cook McSweeney. The Cook is a family name.
Nice.
Pauline's, I think it was Pauline's grandmother might have started a thing where I don't know how it really works, but like the daughter takes the mother's maiden name and the son takes the maiden name. They use like maiden name as middle names.
Okay. That's
Okay.
nice. Yeah, I like that.
So that's where the Cook came from.
I love a tradition like that. That's nice.
Yeah.
Congratulations, man.
I think Rebecca, the guy she married, Kyle, I think his family does a thing like that too, where maybe it's an Irish thing. I don't know, because Pauline's Irish, and that's where it came from her side. So maybe it's an Irish thing where the kid takes the mother's maiden name as a middle name. What's your middle name?
Hamilton. What?
It is not.
It is.
It is not Hamilton.
I strike me dead. My name is Wayne Hamilton Highlander. I never used a middle name. I never liked it, but that's it.
I've met Hamilton.
Yeah. Don't ask me where it came from. No idea.
Wow. So you have no nicknames like Hammy or something like that? Nothing you don't?
No.
I've known you for a while. I didn't know you had a middle name.
No, yeah, but no reason to know that I have a middle name. I
That's
never
an
use
exciting, that's a
it.
powerful, exciting middle name.
Not to me, it's not.
Hamilton?
Yeah.
That just sounds regal. That's money. That's what that is. Hamilton.
All right, I'm going to use it more often.
Listen, nobody's ever met a broke Hamilton in their life.
Probably not. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm going to use that.
I'm writing that down.
In bars.
Yeah. When I'm really angry with you, I'm going to call you Wayne Hamilton Hollywood Highlander.
There you go. All right, Rob. So we're going to talk today. Look what's, we start seeing a kind of trend in the industry right now. Gosh, and I hope it's not one that lasts long, but I'm starting to see around the country, it's slowing down a little bit. Some guys are still busy, but we see a lot of guys are slowing down a little bit. And if you go look back a couple of years, man, you could just the jobs were everywhere. You had so much work, man. Everybody said if I could triple my employees, I could keep everybody busy. I just can't find the labor. And that wasn't getting the jobs wasn't the problem. I mean, there was plenty of work. But now
fish in a barrel, man. That's what it was for a long time. Fish in a barrel.
And if you've been in this business as long as you and I have, you see the ebbs and flows. There's slow times. There's times when everybody's working, and it's just kind of it's just business. It's not to get excited about. But some guys it might behoove you or whatever, or you might have to sell yourself a little bit more to get the job. And I'm such a big proponent of this anyhow. I just think it's so important, your presentation. So I thought maybe we'd talk about that.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Because it's not, from the guys that I'm talking to in the schools and talking to on the phone, it's not fish in a barrel anymore. People are out hunting again.
Yeah.
So now it's time to be on your A game. Now it's time to put on a show, I think, during that
Yep.
estimate.
Yep. Yep.
You want to be excited about this. You want to be excited. You want to show excitement for their job.
Mhm.
I mean, I know you're going to laugh when I mention this, but that company I won't talk about who did my basement, you remember how excited they got me about it,
Yeah. Yeah. They
right?
sold you.
They sold the hell out of me. I mean, I
Hmm.
was excited. I was,
So much
showing
so
people
that you were an
what was going to
advocate.
happen.
You were an advocate for them, not just a customer, even before you became a customer.
Yes.
Then you found out you were duped. There was that. But
The joy that you found in my duping
yeah,
hurts.
yeah, it was pretty funny. All right, I'm just gonna pretend I'm bidding a job, Rob. Let's pretend
All
let's
right.
do let's do so let's do some role playing. You want to do
Okay.
that? You be the
Let's
customer.
role play. Yeah.
All right, all right. I'm gonna ring the doorbell. Hi, my name is Wayne Highlander here, and I'm here to talk to you about your hardwood floors.
I'm sorry. I thought they were sending a gentleman named Hamilton.
Yeah, that's actually my middle name. WHH. Yeah, yes, that's me. Yeah, yeah. And if you don't mind, can I ask you to put on something decent? The negligee and the sun behind you hitting it. It's a little. I'm a little uncomfortable coming in right now.
I'm sorry. I was expecting Hamilton. I'll
No,
go
yeah,
change
yeah,
right
yeah.
now.
Let me go get him. While you change, I'll go get Hamilton.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. You know, when you whether you trust us to do your job or you trust somebody else to do your job, there's three things that every contractor brings to the job. One is the workers, and that means everything that they encompass: their work experience, their passion, and the knowledge. Okay. We have an expression here at our company that, do you have 20 years experience, or are you just reliving that first year over and over for 20 different times? We train our employees the new technology. The manufacturers will come in and what have you, and so we spend a great deal of time doing that. The other thing they bring in is their track record and their reputation and how well they're going to respect your home, and that's important. And then here's are they going to use my restroom, for instance? Are they going to smoke in the house? Are they going to have radios in the house, and where they're going to park their cars? And so I'd like to talk to you about those things. And the third thing, and very important thing about, because goes to the longevity of your floors, is the quality of the products they use on your job site. That's going to be in your home, your environment. Everybody that comes in here to do the job is going to be using certain combination of machinery and chemicals. And so I'd like to talk to you about some of the products that we're going to use on the job. Do you have any questions so far?
Yeah. Are you going to be on the job?
No, I'm not going to be on the job. That's a great point and a great time to do what, Rob?
I don't know. I
Great.
thought it was a great point. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Time to take a drink of water.
Yeah. You know something? I'm sorry I asked you a question that I knew you didn't have the answer for, but it's powerful for me.
Just how you go.
Right? Yeah. I would say if I were to talk to a customer that wasn't going to be on there, one of the main things I would tell them maybe is, most importantly, let me tell you about the lead mechanic that's going to be on your job.
There you go.
In my experience, that's one of the most important persons on any project. So at the end of any project, the lead mechanic determines the success of the project, right? He's going to be there. That's guy managing your job. I'd want to know about that guy. I'd want to talk about his experience and personalize him. I think that would be a good thing to talk about. What do you think?
But I think if you're an owner estimator, you don't want that question to pop into somebody's head.
Mm-hmm.
I think you want to get that. You want to get that out front right away, because there's been lots of people who assume that the guy who's doing the estimate is also going to be the guy on the job. And then when he's not there, now all of a sudden, even though you've talked up the crew and everything, if he's not there, everybody's a stranger. Yeah. So you might want to
I I think that's such a good point. And a lot of times consumer may not want to ask, well, who's going to be doing the work, or are you going to be on a job or whatever, or they assumed, like you said, that you were going to be on a job. They liked
Yeah,
you, they met you, they felt comfortable with you.
exactly.
Now
Yes.
in comes somebody else, and you almost set that guy up for not to fail, but you set him up a little bit behind the eight ball because now he has
Yeah.
to prove himself a little bit. I think you would really need to get excited about who the lead guy is on the job and maybe talk him up a little bit.
And the only reason the only reason I say this is when Pete and I were doing this, he was the books and I was sales. So I was the one going out doing the estimates and everything. And maybe 3 times he had to go to the job before, like we would split and he'd go start and I'd be coating or whatever. But of course, meeting up that day, right? And man, when Rob didn't show up and Pete did, they're like, "Who are you?" Oh, and that was definitely on me. But back then we were doing a coat, and you know what I mean. And we never thought about it because we were full partners. We were 50-50, so it was our company.
Yeah.
But man, when Pete showed up, and like I said, this was only a couple of times,
Hmm.
but the I think one of my favorite ones that just he wanted to throw a hammer through the wall one time was he went to get pick up a check from a carpet store that we had done some work for, and the front desk leans back and he yells to the owner, "Hey, uh, Johnson's guy's here to pick up the check." And Peter just saw red because Johnson's, and he made sure to tell, "Hey, uh, we're partners. We're 50
Yeah.
50."
Hmm.
But I mean, going to your point, I like what you were saying there, like definitely talking up the crew and everything. But that was a big one. I think you want to get that one right out of the way.
Hmm.
But then absolutely talking up what the deal is and who's coming in, their trainings, and really get
Yeah.
passionate about that. And your guys, listen, this guy is, he's like family to me. He's been with me 20 years and or whatever. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
the deal.
I've seen people before put on their websites their all their different people and a little background on them. This is Brian. He's been with us 11 years. He's married to Nancy, and they have 2 kids, Colin and so and so. I'm just making up this whole family in my mind right now. And
Nancy and
yeah,
Colin and the
yeah. I
kids.
don't even know where I came up with
Yeah,
Colin. Wouldn't it be weird if
Colin.
there was a guy out there named Brian who was married to a Colin, and have a kid named
It'd be funnier if Nancy was married to Hamilton, a guy named
yeah,
Hamilton. That would
true,
be a good
yeah,
one.
yeah, it would. Hmm. Um, but um, but you've been with us.
You know what? I like that idea. I like, like I said, you got one shot at this, and it's not fish in a barrel anymore. We're hunters, and whatever we can do,
Yeah,
just to
yeah,
get us a step above the next people, because God, I go back to the company that screwed me over. Not that, imagine if they didn't screw me over, how excited I was about working with them. Imagine if they had just done everything perfect, like they said
hmm,
I'd be in sales for them
yeah,
forever,
hmm,
for free. Okay. And that's one of the things that we do talk about at the schools is, the better job we do, the better reputation. You're just going to have salespeople out there working for you for nothing. And
So
I think this is part of the sale to that potential customer. Definitely.
what you're doing is you're creating a sales team for you. Every successful
Yes.
job, you're creating a sales team that's out there referring you to different jobs. So I think it's really, and I there's another company not in our industry that on the app that said like, okay, so and so is coming. They have a picture of the guy. You know what I mean? So when they got there, they'll know who's going to be there coming to the house.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how important in today's age that customer human interaction, being polite, smiling, the body language, the way you present. To me, man, Rob, it goes miles, miles because people, uh, great service, over the top, phenomenal service is so hard to find. You rarely get it. And I'm going to tell you something. I was at a hotel in Texas a couple weeks ago, and I'm training a guy. So I'm in the lobby, whatever. And we have our laptop open, and I'm basically there 8 hours a day. But while I'm working with him, there's a lady working at the counter who is so engaging, so nice, and so friendly. When I got a couple waters, she goes, "You want to put on my room?" I said, "Yeah, room 214." I came back the next day, and I got some more water. She said 214, right? Now, how many people does she interact with that she remembered my room? You know what I mean? I mean, it's just so nice. Come on, you weirdo. It's so nice, and
Yeah.
just the way she
That
engaged with
kind of
people.
thing just happens to you all the time, doesn't
Not
it?
usually with freaks, um, but I'm going to tell you something. I was so impressed with her that I called her regional manager and say, and I said, "Look, I never do this, man, but I'm in a hotel like every week. I'm in a hotel, and I can't tell you how nice it was dealing with this person at the desk, and what a great representative of your company." And it just left me with. Matter of fact, he sent me a corporate rate. He goes, "If you ever stay here again, you'll get the corporate rate when you come here." Uh, so
Nice.
and I'll
There
be.
you go.
And you know something? I will go back there. And do you remember any hotels you were at the last? You don't. They're all the same, right? Everything runs the same. But I remembered her, and I'll remember that place because of her. So my point is, over the top, phenomenal customer service is so inexpensive. You talk about how what do I do on social media? Do I invest in social media this or Yellow Pages? No, Yellow Pages are dead. I'm showing my age. But all these different ways you can market and whatever, that right there, you can't get any better than that. And what did it cost her? Didn't cost her nothing. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I just think that's so important. And look, if I can do that, am I worth $1 a square foot more than the next person? If I can go in there and tell them, listen, I know that there's other companies they're probably going to bid this job. We actually encourage it. Most people probably get 3 different bids. I'm going to tell you that I'm probably not going to be the lowest. Okay. Um, but let me tell you what that encompasses. When I talked about bringing products into your job, it's your home, it's your space, it's your environment with your children and everything, and we want to respect that. And I want to show you the products that we're going to bring into your homes. Because when it comes to stains and finishes, there's a lot of really high VOC products out there that, and we get this comment all the time, God, I can't believe how bad the house smelled. You can look at different reviews from different companies. Oh my God, the smell knocked us out, or this, that, and the other. We had to stay in a hotel, and the smell lingered for 15 days in our cupboards, and blah blah blah. So I'm going to show you in our portfolio the products we're going to bring to your house, so you're aware. Because there's a lot of different machines. Some guys be using different old machinery and what have you. Here's the vacuum system we use. This vacuum system is a GreenGuard system that we use. It actually has HEPA filters in it. We want to make sure that we control the dust as best we can in your home. We use the stains that has very low VOCs compared to other products that are on the market. They're extremely high VOCs, and the smell is off the charts, and it takes a long time to dry. This product only takes a couple hours. We can shorten that time. We bring in sealers, the same, some GreenGuard Gold sealers. Again, great for your environmental for your home. So your floor will be so green of all the newest, latest technology you can possibly buy. And what is that worth to the consumer? You know what I mean? I
You
think
know,
that.
I mean, let's go back to what you were saying with the HEPA filters. And not only at the schools when I'm talking about that vacuum, but I also say about the HEPA filters. We all know HEPA filters are good. We know that they're used in hospitals and operating rooms and all that stuff. And one of the things that I try to tell everybody is the last breath of air that leaves that vacuum and enters the people's house passes through not one but two HEPA air filtration systems. You know, people don't think. We've all seen, you've all run vacuums and you know that there's crap, you know, the hot air blowing out someplace.
Mhm.
Air goes in and air has to go out, correct? On a
Yeah.
vacuum.
Yeah.
And I stress that it's that last breath of air that passes through the machine, goes through 2 HEPA filters, and then it enters the people's home. I mean, to me, that was like brilliant. I thought I'm gonna give myself a bell
I
on
actually,
that.
I love that. The last breath of air.
Yeah,
That's nice. Yeah. That's very good.
yeah,
That's
yeah. I should have
that's
been in marketing. You
really,
think?
that's good stuff. Yeah.
They put me. I was in
Yeah.
sales, and they moved. All right, let's get him out of there. And
Yeah.
they put me in training. I
Oh,
I
it's a
see
few
me.
few
Yeah, I
HR.
think Eileen would be. I think Eileen would love working with me
Yeah.
in marketing.
A few HR things in the past, but
Hey,
yeah, I get it. Who's keeping
those.
score?
What's that? How do they say that? Not the boat rising thing. Those who have never sinned cast the first stone, or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've never had any problems with anybody in HR. All right.
Well, once you get to your level,
Right. I am really.
there's a lot of protection.
It's
You know
true.
what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
There's a lot of
Pretty insulated.
shielding.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Do you think Eileen just fell off her chair thinking me working with her in marketing?
I don't think that would be her first pick. I'll just say that.
Come
Yeah.
on, Eileen. Eileen, you're there. We know you're there.
It would not be my first pick.
Oh,
Hey, Eileen, you've had work done in your house, and you've had people come into your home, and maybe you can talk about that, your experience. If you don't know who they are, or do you feel uncomfortable having someone come in if you don't know, or whatever? Maybe you can chime in a little bit while we got you here.
Yeah, I do prefer the companies that do a lot of follow-up, like before they come to my house. They let me know exactly who's coming. They show a picture of the person, so I know who I'm expecting. And then communication, it's usually done via text of, I'm 20 minutes away or I'm 10 minutes away, just so I'm prepared for when they come. To me, that's one of the biggest things, just, as a single mom, having, strange men come into my house. I just had one, I had my water heater replaced, and younger kid, but he worked for a bigger company and then branched off on his own. But you could tell that he came from a company that did all of those things. So he carried that over into his business.
Yeah,
So
I see
that's
that.
really, really important to me. But then also explaining the process of what he was going to do and the products that he was using. He did that as well. That's very important to me. I do care about like longevity of the product or things like that, or water filtration system. So he's very knowledgeable about the products that he was putting into my house. So yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Eileen.
Yep.
So I'm going to circle back if I can, because we talked about how important the lead guy is. And arguably the most important person on the job, more important than the owner of the company, more important than maybe anybody else there, because that's the person, the craftsman doing the job. Now you can make an argument though that the salesperson is actually the most important person to the job, because if they don't bid that job correctly and weed out the customers or whatever, you know what I mean, then it doesn't matter how good that lead guy is. It's possibly not going to be a successful situation. So the salesperson's role in this whole thing, and sometimes that person, the salesperson, the lead man, or lead flooring mechanic, are the same person. You know what I mean? And the person that shows up. Where it gets more complicated is the more people you put in that scenario, the more the things can change, because more personalities and what have you. That's why, to Eileen's point, and it was interesting when she was saying that, because my wife Judy is very detail oriented. Like, she'd want to know, the guy's coming at 10:15, or he's coming here at 10:30, and this is going to happen, and that's going to. I'm very loose. Like I go, hey, you gonna be here? All right, you're gonna be here, fine, whatever. And then I just assume things are gonna go the way they're supposed to go. I'll leave the door open for the guy, whatever. And Judy's not that way at all. And I find myself catching myself that I have to go more step by step. For some people, they're not comfortable. I mean, that's outside of that. They're almost control freaks, I want to say. Not that Eileen or Judy is, but there are some people, we've all been there. And not that they're bad people, not that they're just, that's the way they run their life. And you have to recognize that. So,
Yeah, you Eileen, Judy, and you just described Pauline.
no kidding.
Oh,
Yeah.
like I had the kid, and I talked about him before. Him and his buddy left the electricals union, started their own gig, and I've had him do a couple projects for me. And we just had air conditioning, central air put in, so I needed some new power and plugs and stuff. And I said, "Hey Joel, when can we get you on? When can you get me on the schedule?" That was a text, and he goes, "Sometime next week." And I'm like, "Okay, great."
Yeah.
Sometime next week, and I'm like, "Oh, okay." I'm on his mind, right? He has put a note down someplace, and I know he's cool with it because he's done. This would be like the fourth thing that he's done for me.
Yeah.
And Pauline was like, "Well, what day next week?" And I'm like, "Well,
Yes.
it's
He
next
didn't
week."
say. Yeah.
He said, "I'll get you on the schedule for next week."
Mm.
So I get a call from him. No, he's and Pauline every day is like, "You got to text him. You got to text him." And
Yeah.
I'm like, "Look,
I don't want to
he's
bother
on
him.
the schedule. All right. I like this guy.
Mhm.
I don't want to scare him away. All right.
Yeah.
I like him, and he's never let us down. Matter of fact, he came out to when I had the tree fall and rip everything out. It was raining when he came out to take a look at everything, and he knew that I was in trouble. So
Mhm.
this wasn't that. This was not. It's not an emergency.
Yeah.
So I think I got a text from him. He's like, "Man, I really got swamped this week. I'll be there Monday morning. Or
Mhm.
I'll be there Monday." And I'm like, "Hey, I get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not a big."
Things happen.
Yeah. By Friday, Pauline was like, "We need to find a new electrician."
Yeah.
I go, "Well, look, he'll be here Monday." Okay.
Yeah.
And then I get a text from him Monday morning. I'm in Catskill. I'll be leaving here around 10. I got to pick some stuff up. Should be to your place by 12. He
Mhm.
then texts me again. Like, I just picked it up. I'm on my way, and it'll be whatever, 12:30,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, will you leave me alone? I know you're coming. You told me you were
Mhm.
coming. I'm
Yeah.
good. I'm
Yeah.
good.
Yep. Yep.
So I kept giving Pauline the updates. Hey, he's at this. He'll be here. They were for her. They were
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
were all for her. Okay.
Yep.
Because that's how she rolls, and it sounds like you and I roll the same exact way. Oh,
Yeah.
hey, I'm on the schedule. Good. I'm cool.
So, we talked about you mentioned that we're in hunting mode now, where we didn't necessarily have to be in hunting mode a few months ago, or a year ago, or whatever. But the other thing about this too is, how can you make more money at the end of the year? Well, you can do more jobs, or you can charge more. And I know, I know, you're in certain economies, and people start saying, "Well, now guys have dropped their price to such and such, to sand and finish, and this, that, and the other." I think this is just a way to justify being able to charge more money on a job. And I tell you, I think it's important this to be able to say to sell the job at the front end of it, and to be able to say, I mean, even just to be able to say, listen, we bring three things to this job. Every contractor that comes here, we're going to bring our work experience and passion and all this kind of stuff, just to reiterate this, and our knowledge. We're going to bring our track record, which our reputation, and how much well we respect your home and these type of things, and then the quality of the products. So all three of these are key components, because one and two is not good without the other. You know what I mean? I think it's a combination of things. And you know, at Bona, I mean, you and I always say, or I always say it, and I always blame you for saying it also, is that we're not the ocean. We're just a wave. I mean, contractors get there on their reputation and their hard work and whatever, and we just want to, you know, if we have products that can add to that, add quality to their jobs and everything, and help them in their business, and you know, we're thrilled to death, and be happy for the business and happy to partner with them, and that's why we do the schools and all these different things. But I think to be able to sell the GREENGUARD Gold angle here, I'm just passionate about this, and not necessarily that I'm just don't see that I'm you know, I don't want to say a tree hugger or whatever. I'm really not. Not that I'm opposed to it either, but I just think it's a sales. It's just, you know, it matters to so many people. We just saw. This is the day after the debate, and I'm not going to go into the debate. We don't talk politics here, but we talked about one of the important things to American voters was the environment. Whether I don't care what side you're on, it doesn't matter to me. I don't care, but it matters to a lot of people. It matters. The environment in their home matters. The VOCs matter. The products that they're more aware than ever before about what they're breathing and what's off gases in their home. And I think that you have an opportunity to give a very, very green product to the consumer, starting from like we said, the vacuums all the way down the line, to the cleaning products, which are GREENGUARD as well. So I think it's a great story.
I mean, that's one of the great stories about Bona, and especially now that adhesives are involved with it.
Yeah,
it's now a start to finish. Okay, our equipment is GREENGUARD certified. Our sandpaper is GREENGUARD certified. I mean, you know, when you start telling this to the homeowner, that the equipment, the sandpaper, the vacuum systems, and of course, the adhesives, the sealers, the finishes, the stains. I mean, what a great thing to hook your wagon to. Nobody is going to dispute this. And it means so much, even to people, you know, hey, I'm as probably conservative as you can get, but I'm for a good, clean environment too. I mean, it's not that I'm against it, you know. So even for somebody like me that I've been watching this and everything, and you know, at our age, we could say, you know, you don't care. No, I think everybody cares. Everybody wants clean water. Everybody wants clean air. There's, you know.
So when I used to bid jobs, there's two goals for me. One is follow that. When I leave that house, in my mind, I always think to myself, go ahead, come on in the next guy and follow that. You know what I mean? And the second one is I want to get as much money as I can, because I know I can only, my personality, I'm not going to be able to, in the labor and everything, I'm not going to be able to expand and hire 6, 7, 8 more guys. I need to make as much money as I possibly can on each job. And I can do that by selling quality and setting myself apart. Because I listened to a podcast with a retailer was the other day, and he was talking about this game of well, we got to lower our prices now, and getting in that whole mindset of, oh well, we got to lower our prices, and it's a race to the bottom, and how many more jobs you have to do to make up for, you know, your overhead and all these different things. What's the better business model? And yeah, you're gonna miss out on some jobs. I mean, you know, that's just the nature of the beast. I mean, we talked earlier how you used to love your batting average. That, man, I got every job I bid. And
yes. Wow. I guess I've said that a lot, because yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
and I get it too, because I was the same way, and I probably, you know, left a lot of money on the table. But I just think that I think it's just a smart business model. And I don't know, man, I think it's a good time to talk about it, because things are slowing down a little bit in a lot of different markets and what have you. And Rob and I, we talk about it a lot. And what we hope that people sometimes get out of this is that, man, I was able to do it faster. We had Jeremiah on a podcast talking about some ways he can speed this job up. On the last podcast, that we can do it faster, we can do it cleaner, we can do it more financially successful for us, and that's a win for us, man. It's not just a Bona thing with us. It's just also our, you wanting to give back to the younger kids coming up or whatever, and learn from some of the mistakes we made and the hard knocks we made. And we've had some people on this podcast like Chris Zizza and some really very, very smart businessmen that how they got there and how they've been successful. And I think there's a lot of tools out there. That's one thing, that there's never been more information available to help you be successful. There's really not. I mean, you would have to go to 4-year college to get some of the stuff you can learn just off podcasts and YouTube and what's available to us, and schools like with the Bona schools and the NWFA schools. Man, if I tell you, if you're a young kid, the opportunity to really set yourself up for success. And it also starts with habits. If you get in the habit right off the bat of lowering your prices and not valuing your work, or devaluing your work, and you go down that road, it's just a harder life, and so hopefully maybe this can help somebody. So
I've taught schools in almost every single major market in the United States and Canada. Almost all of them, major markets. And in almost every single school, I've had somebody say to me, matter of fact, I just had somebody say this to me a few weeks ago. In this market, you cannot get more than $1.75 a foot. Now, he was dead serious. And I'm thinking, that is the craziest thing. In my head, I'm thinking, that's the craziest thing. What I said to him was, dude, you could double that price and make more money in a week. Believe me. Now, if you want to do $1.75 a foot type work, okay, then there's where you're at. But when you hear, like I said, I hear this everywhere I go. There's somebody who's going to tell me, you cannot get more than this. And almost in every class, there's somebody in the back kind of smirking, thinking, really? Because I charge $9 a foot for sand and finish. And then people will say, well, you're a liar. That doesn't happen. It does. It really does. But, and this is a template on how to do it. This is an absolute template on how to do it. Promote your products. Tell everybody how green and safe they are. I mean, the great part about the Bona product systems being green and GREENGUARD, how many nightmares did you hear about green products that didn't work? Green products that were, they were green, but man, they were tough. Now we're talking about best products in the industry, also cleanest products in the industry. So, like I said in the beginning of this, boy, if you want to attach your wagon to something, here you go. I tell everybody in the classes, you want to talk about GREENGUARD so much during the estimate that when you leave, they're Googling GREENGUARD. They want to know what's going on with this. It's a really, like we said, it's hard. It's a hard business to make money in. And this is the easiest money you'll ever make, just by being a really good salesman, selling quality products, talking about the green, talking about their environment and everything. I'll find a text and I'll send it to you about a school that I did 2 years ago in Nashville. And this kid was at the class. It was done on Thursday, and he sent me a text on Friday. And his brother went out and did an estimate, and he started talking about GREENGUARD, and he said, I could see in her eyes she was mesmerized. We usually charge $5 a foot for the craft oil. I moved it to $9 and we got the job. Now, I'm not saying that everybody's going to go double their money, But he started talking about it for his first time, and he's never looked back at this.
What was I going to say? I was going to say something I can't remember now.
Damn, it was probably really good too.
I bet it was, but
Yeah.
I was mesmerized too listening to you. Can't remember
See,
what it
when I'm
was.
talking, you have to stop thinking in your head. When's he gonna stop?
Yeah.
That's enough.
No.
That's enough. That's enough.
Oh, I know what I was going to say now. When I had to do a speech a while back for probably about 60 or 80 people there, I practiced that speech 50 times before I did it. And I think this has been important enough to me if I was a contractor to like your elevator speech or whatever, your presentation, like you're going to bid the jobs or whatever, but like there's going to be three key things here. Is like, I said them again, the workers, the workers and everything that encompasses your work experience, your passion, your knowledge, your track record and reputation, blah, 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 and the quality of your products. But I think that there's like core values for your company. Is that what I'm getting at? And I think that if you kind of like, get that down, get that across, because here's the thing too. I was so passionate, and I know so many guys are the same way. You're so passionate about making that floor dead flat, about having no edge marks. You're so passionate about it, man. You'll just do anything, and you're above and beyond. You vacuum 20 times and everything. You do all these things. But does the homeowner know that you're that passionate about it? You know what I mean? Does it come across to them when you're bidding the job? And I think that's, if we don't get that across to them, I think we're missing the boat. And because some say, it's maybe you're not comfortable or you're shy or not comfortable talking to someone else you just met for the first time about this. But I think you got to be a way you can convey that about you and your company, or you're doing almost a disservice to yourself. Because this job is hard, and these guys are such freaking hard workers, man. And you talk to floor guys all day, we all do, and how much they love it and they're passionate about it, and they have so much drive to come out with the best product they can. But I think that needs to come across to the consumer.
Absolutely.
All about,
Absolutely. But I want to take what you're saying one step further. If this is how you approach the estimate and this is how you go, you got to follow through.
Yeah.
You got to follow through. You need to end that job as excited as you started that job. And those homeowners need to be just as excited at the end as they were in the beginning. Because I look back at my situation in the damn basement. I am now out to, I'm never going to talk good about these guys. Anybody who's ever going to talk to me about, geez, I'm thinking of having, XYZ done. What am I going to say?
Yeah.
What will I say? Do not use these guys. Yeah. And what was I saying before? This is it, Wayne. These guys, okay? And now if they had the follow through, I'm a salesman for life.
Yeah. And a good way to do that is we used to give out coasters and a floor cleaning kit at the end, coasters for the furniture, because not that I was such a nice guy. I just didn't want to come back for a scratch or something. You know what I mean? Just give them the coasters, just use these. That everybody's happy. You don't have to have these conversations down the road. So, all right, Rob, I appreciate everything and all your experience that you bring to this and your knowledge. And I always learn something talking to you. I did. Yeah. You said something a while ago. It was pretty interesting. I can't remember what it was now. Listen to it back. So, all right. Okay. This has been another episode of On the Floor with Wayne and Rob. Please stay tuned for another episode.